I'll tell you this on the show. We met a young shaman here in the Puerto Vallarta area. Okay, I think we're connected. Let me just make sure. Uh, hello. Okay. Yeah, that looks like we're okay. Let me double check. So be careful because from this point forward, we're probably live.
Okay.
I don't want you to say anything that. Okay, here we go. Let's see real quick. Okay, let me just. Yeah, we're there. I'll tag you on this in a minute
Okay, great.
during the show. Okay, so we are live on Facebook. There's YouTube and X. Okay, we're all good. Okay, all right. Let me just flip this on, flip this off. Okay, so this is episode number 57, Jenny Schiltz, right? I hope I got that right.
You did.
Um, oh, all right. I did something good. Um, yeah, yeah, this is episode 57, which is the 12, which is a very important number. It is the 18th. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's a nine. So we're of course we're in a 9 year. So so many of these physical synchronicities are way beyond the numbers are coming into play. But let me just formally welcome you to your show. We don't have a name in the typical sense of this new podcast, 57 shows deep this year. It's about you. And most of the shows I've done, admittedly, this year, I would say probably 90% of them have been people that have never been on before because that's kind of where my soul's called us. But in one thing that's been happening has been the recognizable evidence of the physical, what I call the physical synchronicities that come in the sequential aspect as our day goes by, our week goes by, our month goes by. And so yesterday I saw you put up a post, and I'm sure many people that are tuning in now and on the replay did too, about a dream that you had, which is coming about a month after the dream that you had about the eclipses and the equinox period of last month, which I thought was by far the biggest year we ever had. And I told Morgan,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I can't, it's gonna level off now. But several
Yeah.
days into April, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. So I saw this post that you put up. I felt compelled in that moment to follow, the intuitive, that higher than telepathic, and say, hey, would you like to do a show? Not even looking at my calendar, which is absolutely booked through like probably almost the end of the month, like about 15, 18 shows maybe. And and you wrote back and said, I can do tomorrow or I can do it after May 1st. I'm like, let's do tomorrow. So I'm really happy to have you back here in this sacred space. Thank you for joining me
Yeah, thank
on
you.
this new venture. And thank you for being so open to meet on such short notice. Welcome back, Jenny. This is your show, really, Shamanic Healer and Intuitive Guide, and the things that you do with the plant medicine. I've enjoyed talking to you before and your husband. But thank you for coming in and being such a willing participant so quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it was perfect. I saw it and I was like, huh. I looked at my calendar and I'm like, wow, I don't have anything lined up. And I was going to be at a track meet all day.
Hmm.
Uh, but the weather canceled everything,
Isn't that something?
isn't it? And so that's
Wow.
when I knew I'm like, oh, the universe is grounding my butt, right? They're like, sit your butt down. And so it's like everything for the weekend, like my entire weekend cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of what I wanted to talk to you about is this whole place that we've been finding ourselves in by force or by flow.
Mhm.
And so yeah, this adds up to the geometry and the mathematics and such, and the alignment that I've been feeling, even though it sounds like a very superficial human story. Oh, I was going to go to a track meet and then boom, 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 boom. But that's kind of how it happens. But yeah, I would love to talk about whatever you want to talk about. This is all about you. But in this particular case, I would like to go back into at some point, maybe we can start here, maybe whatever you feel. I have very distinct lucid dreams, and I always have during certain periods. And I noticed about a week ago I started waking up because whenever I'm having intensive lucid dreams, it seems to be correlating with massive, what we call solar energies or whatever coming in, and I start to get this dryness around my pineal gland and right
Mm.
down to the bridge of my nose and up towards my crown. Really, really bad. I wake up like even 4 or 5 hours sleep and wake up and I'll just be peeling. But my lucid dreams over the last week or so have been really intense. And last month, you wrote about a lucid dream that you had in regard to March, which was the equinox and the two eclipses that were the bookends of it. And it was really compelling. But this one that you wrote a couple of 3 or 4 days ago was very compelling in terms of what's going on as of today. And I've seen I'm gonna say, I don't get carried away, but I've seen at least three posts in their own words talking about this period that kicks off right now
Yeah.
in regard to this weekend and into the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'd love to talk about that and maybe lucid dreams a little bit if that goes anywhere. But yeah, so having said all that, welcome to the show. Welcome to your show. May I ask you what the F is going on?
I have no idea. That's the funniest part. It's like, it's like I look at everything and I look at everything that's changing. I mean, since the beginning of the year, it's so full on. So full on. And I mean, and to the point where like I get a lot of really kind of weird dreams. Like last night, the dream I was swimming with this humpback whale and we were out in the cosmos, right? And I can go, okay, Akashic record and the whales are the guardians, and I can piece that together. But then every once in a while, there's like the dream I had 2 nights in a row, and it was uh I guess it would have been Tuesday night and Wednesday night. And to the point where it's like I had to have the dream again because I don't think I gave it enough attention. And they're like, all right, dummy, put this back in and show it to you again. Because it was so funny. The second dream was more like watching the first dream on rewind. And then I was at least the space where I could start asking questions. And I'm going, well, what is this? What? I don't understand it. And from my understanding is that our entire collective vibration, harmonic has risen. And as a whole, and then I know that sometimes that can be really hard to see when you're looking out at all the craziness in the world. But that's when I tell people, I'm like, just look in your circle. Look at the language people are using. Look at some of the changes you're seeing. There's evidence of it everywhere. And as that vibration has risen, it has created a note, a key that I saw coming into this giant cosmic door, and it opened it. And so, but then what I saw so many incredible light beings holding this door open. And I realized I was like, oh, this is almost like a gatekeeping type moment. And the energy coming in, it's straight from source. It is straight source energy. And when I asked, I said, well, what is this? And they said, this is the energy that's going to help each person remember who they are. And that's layered, right? So on this human level, we've had this thread of soul through everything, every life, the good lives, the bad lives, the good characters, the bad characters. There's always been a thread of soul. And so it's now what they showed me was like this beautiful spiral and this golden thread going through the spiral. And we're now pulling it back. And we're now saying, I remember me in each of those incarnations. Even if I don't remember the incarnation, I'm remembering like, who am I? What is my signature? What is my energy field? And it really is, it's a field. And we're pulling it back from everywhere out there where it's been scattered. And so that's that very human level, right? And from here, I think what it's going to do is we're going to start to go, this doesn't match me anymore. Maybe it's my website doesn't match. Maybe my job doesn't match. Maybe my friends don't match, right? But you're going to find that it's like those start to fall away. And if we let them fall away, it can be an easy transition. It's when we cling and hold on for whatever reason. And so that can be how that this is going to look like on the human level. On the soul level, we're starting to understand more of that galactic history and more of that soul history. What is this experience? How did we get into this? Is it a trap? Was it something we agreed to? And these truths are now starting to come in. And it's interesting because I'm watching more and more people rise out of this victimhood and going, I can see where I needed this experience. I can see where I needed to be separated from myself, from source, from the earth to experience what I'm not. And that's a different narrative than all of these things have been done to us. And I'm watching this through the collective, and it's really very neat. And I feel that the energy coming in from source is going to help us do that because in this, we reclaim our divinity and we go, "Ah, I remember now.
Mm, mm, mm.
I might have been insane
Yes.
when I agreed to this, but I remember now.
Yes. Maybe in what?
Might have been insane."
Um, yeah, I had a beautiful sister on yesterday. She was homeless 11 years. One of those that many of the ones of the shows that I've had this year, the 57, whatever, uh, very similar. I'd say probably 20, 25 of them. I've never been on before. I'm getting the call. But she spoke of that, she said, I never thought I'd get off the streets. I was have dealing with the streets by, drinking and, drugging out. And, I've been there for a couple of years, not 11 years, but I could relate to it. But she didn't have this wake up occur until November of 2018. And it was Lionsgate of 2019 when it really kicked in. And we're talking Kundalini, we're talking
Wow.
people, the soul speaking through other people, with many of the different variations of how this all happens. But that was her take on it. Was at the end of the day, she was like, you know what, I set this whole thing up, and I'm so happy that I had this experience. So I think that speaks in a collective manner to what you're talking about, and I feel like that's the type of coding that you're referring to that is coming directly from the suns that is going to permeate into our consciousness. And with that, everything goes away. When I say everything, I'm talking about forgiveness, judgment, like these things that were like modus operandi for us to navigate, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to the dream. Did I lose you? My
No, no,
signal
can
might
you
be
still see me?
dropping. Yes,
Still
yes,
see me?
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Well,
Um, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I had a
No, it's
conversation with my husband one time. Um, and I was trying to explain understandings that had come in when my mom passed. And I said to him, I said, honey, if I come out of this experience and I realize that I need to complete my mission, my degree, if you will, I need to be murdered. Who am I going to ask? I'm going to ask him. There is no one else on this earth who loves me the way he does. There is no one else who I know that would go through possibly jail, guilt, all that can come in with murdering somebody. There is no one else I'd ask other than somebody who loves me so completely and wants me to succeed in whatever it is that I'm doing. So when you realize that, it shifts things, right? You look at the people in your lives who may have hurt you, abused you, treated you poorly, shift it and realize that there's some major soul contracts here. And we've also participated in the contracts where we've been the bad guy. We've been the one to harm another so that they can experience something that they needed to experience. And it's not an easy role, and it clicked for my husband when I described it that way because he was like, "You're right." He's like, "Yeah, you would ask me." And I would.
Yeah, I remember getting that in the middle of I look at this now as, and I know for some people it started before and after, like the example I was giving you of the sister yesterday, because we know it's not linear. But in terms of like, and the 12, 2012 to the end of 2024, to me, it felt like, and I don't know if it was the solstice or January 1st, or some people say April 1st is a real year in the Julian calendar, but something had shifted. Like we hit the other side.
Mhm.
But I remember far back into the old side, the old paradigm, getting the same thing. And it was, we all have antagonists in our lives. Normally, there's someone very close to us, a parent or a sibling or an ex or whatever. And I remember getting that. And they said to me, who do you who do you think would come down here to play your chief antagonist, but those that at a soul monadic level that love you the most?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Click, like you said, it was
Yeah.
like a click.
Yep.
And then, as we know, perception is reality. And this energy that you're talking about and that we'll talk about that you're having access to through these incredible dreams, and otherwise, um, we're getting a wider perception and seeing things differently. And what a difference that makes in our experiential, what a difference it makes. And the last thing I would say to that is the one thing that I've really seen that's happening more and more for me, and I know I'm not the only one, is the information is becoming immediately applicable. Like it's almost like the awareness comes in and boom, it can
Yeah.
be applied. You may not
Yeah.
be able to explain and define and declare everything that came into a T, but something is available immediately if we
Mhm.
choose to, and I hate to sound, I don't mean to sound judgmental, but self-judgmental or otherwise, but if we choose to try something different and go with that which brought all of us crazy people to this place in the beginning anyway, because all of our stories are the same. We're
Yeah.
all told we were nuts and we all went on these paths, which all look different, but they're all actually the same thing.
They're all the
But
same.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's for me, the dreams have always been there. Um, I remember being a kid and waking up from them, and I would tell someone, and it would always, you have the biggest imagination and things like that. And everything was just kind of discounted, and it really wasn't until, I mean, I spent years in bed, and it was during that time that it that was my solace, was shifting it from being having to be asleep to that lucid state and going out and exploring and learning. And at the time, I never thought I'd get out of bed. I never thought I
Mhm.
would heal to the point to where it was like, I could go and do, much less serve. It was never on my radar. Um, and that shifted things. The shift between consciously lucid dreaming or shamanic dreaming, or journeying to, from being asleep where I'm not fully aware of it to conscious and being part of it shifted so much for me. And then now it's like the dreams that'll come in that are those knowing dreams, there's a different quality to them. Um, and they're my favorite. Even when they confuse me, they're my favorite because they don't have the haze of a regular dream.
Mm.
They're so
Mm.
clear and they're so precise, and you learn so much. And now I feel like I agree with you. We're embodying like that. It's like, oh, I understand it, got it, and then you run with it. And it's a lot faster. It's a
Mm.
lot
Mm.
faster.
Yeah, these dreams, like and I would like to talk about what the F is going on. I got a couple of reference points, but I just want to make a quick comment. Like the dream I had last night. Um, if it was a what do you call a hazy dream, it would have been one because there was guns involved and there was threats of you being killed or killing, and but I was able to be conscious, lucid in the dream, understanding the metaphoric aspect of it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so the lesson came in at the end of the dream, which was basically I had all this stuff coming at me that didn't know my essence, or at least that's was my impression. In other words, they were suspicious of me or they were
Mm,
wary of me, and I was in a protective mode of some people. And at the end of the dream, even though it had all this stuff in there that looked on the surface like what like a nightmare, my heart never palpitated. I just went through it, and at the end, the father figure and the mother figure came in and told me, "You passed the test. Like you did exactly what you did was exactly was pure intention, and we
mhm,
know this now." And so, those types of things I picked up in what I read last month and what I read a couple days ago with this dream coming in. Now, the other reference point would be another post that I saw, and it was actually somebody sharing a post similar to yours, but it wasn't a dream. And their comments were, it was a friend of mine, Pamela Johnson, here in Mexico, and she was saying, "I'm getting up and I'm walking sideways and trying to get my balance, but it's not like I'm losing my equilibrium. It's something else." And I've had this going on during the same 5 or 6 or 7 days. And I know it's related to it all because when I wake up in the morning, I got hit in a club many years ago, 15, 20 years ago, with a chair. And I got a concussion, and I had concussion syndrome for 2 weeks. So what would happen is anytime that you would get up, you would walk wobble, for 5 or 10 seconds, and you would get your equilibrium. And it feels similar to that. Uh, is that, in your opinion, or with what you may be able to add, is this aspect of this energy a little bit different in that it's having such a robust effect on our physicality? And uh, do you know, or do you feel that this might be evening out as we move forward? Like almost like it's a barometer, like we're on a choppy sea and we're just not used to it, and then we start to get the hang of it and learn how to navigate it.
there is partly that, for sure. And they've said to me so many times, you're a newborn. You're a newborn. Your body is different. Don't go by what you thought you knew. And as you're talking about and I experience it too, to where I'm like, whoa, the entire world, like I'm on a ship that's on high seas. And that actually has a lot to do with your brain. Is
Mm,
when I've asked, I'm like, what is this? And they said, when we look at programming, when we look at all the fixed and hard beliefs that we have, and whether it's the ancestral DNA or whatever it is, these are hardwired in. These are now starting to come loose. They're starting to unwind. And so if you think about what was our foundation, it no longer is. It no longer is. It's like I keep seeing it, it's like a house of cards. It's just, whoop, this one's gone, and it's all beginning to collapse now. But in the collapse, it's not a bad collapse because what we're left with is more of our authentic. But I do, like for instance, I decided to go ahead and get a glucose monitor because I couldn't figure out my glucose. And I was like, well, both my parents were diabetic, my sister's diabetic. Let me check this. And it's been this interesting ride. I mean, the alarm has woken me up a couple times in the night going off because my sugar's too low. And
wow.
so you talk about proof of being busy while you're sleeping. And I mean, you can see it. You can see the crashes, and then you can see where it's like all of a sudden glucose starts getting pushed out. And so I'm everything I thought I knew about anything. It's
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
It's changing. And so I think that when we're in those choppy seas, it's literally forcing us to unwind
Mhm.
and helping us to let go of some of these fixed concepts. Because a lot of people will complain about the teeth hurting, right? And you go through the phases where you're like, my teeth, what the hell is wrong with me? Your teeth hold a lot of that really deep ancestral DNA. So they shift in your mouth and it helps to let it go. And
Mhm.
then on top of that, we've got the cranial bones that
Mhm.
are changing. I mean, I've got a really small head. I generally, the hats that I'll buy, like the ball caps, I buy children's. But lately I don't have to tighten it as much. And so it's interesting. I'm like, okay, even my hats that I've had all these years, I'm like, oh, I actually need to extend it a little more than what I did before. The cranium is shifting. So how can that not affect everything, including the basal vagal nerve? You're like, it is truly affecting every ounce of us.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Here. Yeah. I can relate to a lot of that. Um, so much is coming through in the body, this year in particular. I know it was kind of a ramping up as I was ramping down, phasing out of the old
Mhm.
platform, the Soul Speaks 5D. Um, People started talking about the consciousness of the body, the voice of the body, but it was a whole different language. And then as we got into this year, people that I talked to here on the show, and myself, and I'm like going, man, my body's like telling me, hey, hey, and it may not have a specific explanation, but it's like like I turned my ankle. I more than turned it; I almost broke it, and I'm probably the worst injury I've ever had, and I'm 63 now, and then as I tapped into the occurrence and the location and everything, so much came in. Like it was like, you need to sit your ass down and just chill because this is like the preparation. Now this is most of March, and then we get into April, and right up to this weekend. Last weekend was as big a weekend as I've ever experienced by far. Like it was so huge, and I knew it going in. I told Morgan, I said, you know what? And I don't usually do that. I was like, you know what? This is going to be a big weekend,
Yeah.
and it's going to go from the 11th through the 14th, Friday through Monday. And sure enough, all kinds of things happened for us, and I saw it out in the field too. But then as we come up onto this Easter weekend, which is a 33 day, by the way. 33 is a
Oh,
Sunday.
how
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, the 20th. And I'm like I think it was 2 days ago. We're like, "Oh my God, here it comes." Like this is even bigger. The, I don't feel like it's going to stop. Uh I feel like it's just going to keep expanding and somehow or another we're almost like what do they call it? On the job training. Like you get
Mhm.
thrown into the fire and you got to figure it out while you're performing.
Yeah.
Something like that. What's your feel for what's going down this weekend? Because it does feel really, really huge. And the geomagnetic magnetic storms and the flares and everything else, Schumann points to it. What do you feel like is the other side of this? Are we losing judgment, or at least having accessibility to being able to function without judgment, without, words like forgiveness, shame, blame, all that stuff, all that human lineage stuff that was part of the program? Is this a new operating system?
That's a really great question. I think we've already got the new operating system. I really do. I think that we're consistently being downloaded with these next phases. What I heard as you were speaking was this weekend is an invite. Okay, it is an invite of energy that, yeah, it may knock most of us down. We may be tired, but it's an invite of do you take it in? To me, when I was looking at the energy, and it's straight from source, and it's also that Christ consciousness. And it's that, it's that Christ aligned, crystalline frequency that's coming in. And it's giving us a choice. Are we ready? Are we ready to let our shit go? Are we sick enough of our stuff that we're like, okay, I'm done. I'm tired of the role I've played. I'm tired of who this person is. And not out of judgment, just kind of going, that was fun. I don't think I need to do that anymore. I don't think I need to kick my butt anymore. I think I can just be okay being me. And from there is this blooming. And the most judgmental people I know are the meanest to themselves. So it's that getting right in here of can I be okay? And coming into that place of presence that each moment is truly holy. Like when you really understand how we are learning for source and you go, whoa, every little thing. It's like we talked about, the track meet and all that getting canceled, which just makes sure that I'm not running 90 miles per hour this weekend. But even the track meets are holy. Everything is an opportunity for you to explore yourself and to learn and to grow and figure out who you are and who you're not. And you're doing it for source. We've compartmentalized. We're like, this is good, this is bad, this is spiritual, this is not. And none of that is true. And so I feel this energy is an invite. Do you want to take those walls down? And are you ready for the responsibility that comes when those walls come down? You know, I don't know when it was. Time is so weird for me, but my team was talking to me about responsibility, and I wrote a post like, hey, we're all human. I've flicked people off. I've gotten mad at a cashier, like been like, but that's still negative energy you're putting out there. You're responsible for it. Pull it back, right? So it's really starting to see, what have I done? What have I created? Intentionally, unintentionally, consciously, subconsciously. Where is my part in the cluster that's out here? And what is my part I hold responsibility for? And I now take down the walls of shame and blame and I shift it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I see. But I don't see it being instantaneous. I see it as an opening and as an invite for us to really begin this process of unlayering. And it's done in such a way to hopefully we don't go crazy. I mean, truly, so that we don't disconnect from reality. All of this has to come in a very grounded function, or we can't anchor it into the earth. And, we can see the spiritual people that are just, woof, they're just up here. And it's like, get in here, get into the body, get into the earth and anchor this in, because that's part of the work. And that's how we shift the grid. That's how we shift everything. And so to me, it's very much an invite. It's not forced on anybody. It's just there.
Yeah, I relate to that so many ways, like even like this morning, waking up for, the sixth or seventh or eighth day in a row, and I can't even walk. And I needed to go into, it's about a 8 or 10 minute walk to the plaza here in this little town. And the store I was going to was closed. So I had to go a bit further, like almost twice as far. But I realized on the way back, even though it was a bit warm, uh, it worked everything out. Like, in a physiological way, it was like, oh my God, I just needed to get out here. The sun, the wind, the being on the ground. And then another thing you said, I would say again too, it was probably about a week ago, because we connect every night when we go to bed. Put our hands together, we connect. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we're silent, sometimes it's both. And I started to get this thing, and I haven't been able to really say it right, but you did. And it was, sometimes you say, "Oh, we need to own it." It's not that. It was more like an invitation, and it was put to me as, and you mentioned the Christ consciousness, and so I was hearing like, I am the Christ, I
Mhm.
am the Father, you know, incarnated. I am the Christ, I am
Yeah.
the Father. And then it was kind of put to me like, do you want this? It's not about we're giving it to you. We're not giving you anything, because we all know you don't get anything for free in the universal equation. It was more like, it was beyond, that's why I hate to even try to explain it, but it was beyond like, are you worthy? It was beyond all that. It was like the other side of that. And it's like, okay, are you ready to take the baton and run in this capacity and in this incarnation now? And I was like, yes. Yes, I do. So then I was like, I am the Christ, I am the Father. Yeah. So yeah, that invitation, uh, as I understood it and I was getting it, it was kind of like something like, you only get one chance the first time. There's only one first time. And this
Hmm.
is the true present moment is you have this opportunity now. Your number's been called and what do you want to do? And there's no right or wrong, but you have been afforded this opportunity. And I actually feel that this is all of us by what you've done in a soul lineage capacity, a human lineage capacity to this present moment as an individual and as a group. Here's the ball. If you want it, grab it and run. And then the other part of that, which is coming so clear this year, and I got it the other night too, because like we were laying down and this white light formed behind us, and there, there's a wall behind the head of the bed, and I saw it, and I heard, uh, go into the darkness, go into the mother's womb, the holy darkness, the void, because that's where new birth and new creation occurs. The light is with you. The light is behind you and is you.
It
And I'm
is
like, oh my
you.
God, so what's in there? And like, we don't know. And that's the whole point. We're walking into the unknown. We don't know. But what we do know is that, or this is how I got it, was whatever you've done before isn't going to apply here. It's the new choices that you're going to make in regard to this invitation that you're speaking about so clearly. Um, what do we do now? Well, um, yeah, it's a whole different bandwidth, different communication, different connectivity, different reality, however you want to put it. And it's not poo-pooing anything about the human lineage or the
Yeah,
human
no.
experience or the human incarnations. It's just the value of the experiential and applying that code gained from it in combination with what we brought in with in the door with us. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and again, like you said, I wake up every day and I'm not saying this lightly. I wake up every day and go, oh my God, I don't know anything, you know? Like I have the context of everything, but as far as that gets me a free pass or get out of jail free card or some kind of leapfrog, no. It's just information that you have at your disposal as you move through things moment by moment by moment, you know, which isn't gonna get 10,000 views on YouTube. It's just like that's where I'm at, and I'm sticking with
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
You know, I had I was asking, because yesterday came about so quickly when you contacted me. And so last night in my meditation, I said, well, I said, beyond, just talking about this, and I'm like, hmm. And they said to me, they said, you really need to share your experience in January. And it shifted everything for me. So in January, I had done a retreat in Honduras. The retreat was phenomenal. I mean, honestly, absolutely phenomenal. It was the best group of people. I took them deeper than I ever thought I could. It was a healing with the elements retreat, which could be considered kind of basic. Not with this group. I mean, it was so amazing, truly. And the last day of the retreat was January 11th, which was the day the nodes on I think there were lunar nodes flipped, right? So I end the retreat, um, and I go to sleep, and I'm dreaming I'm in this lake and it is black. Is this black lake. The sky is black. There's not even any stars. Off to the side, it was like this purple horizon. And it was the most peaceful, amazing feeling. Like I literally get choked up. Like when I go back to it, I'm like, and it was the space of everything's already done. You are enough. You've done enough. It's all perfect. And I'm laying there and I'm like, yes, this is amazing. And then I hear a voice that says, congratulations. You finished the last line of your soul contract. And I'm like, okay. And they said, would you like to leave? And I said, well, what does that mean? And they said, well, if you want to leave, you'll have a kidney infection. You'll be gone in 3 weeks with sepsis. And I'm like, oh. And at the same time, as my brain is doing this, I am in peace in this lake. Okay. Which is just such a dichotomy. And I felt into, it was really interesting. I felt into my husband and I was like, he's not gonna be happy, but he'll be all right. He'll be all right. Then I felt into my 16-year-old and I just knew. I was like, no, no, not yet. She's too little. Can't, not yet. I want to see her grow. I mean, not to mention my other children, my 30 something, but it was just this wild thing. And I said, well, you know what? What does this mean? I want to stay. What does this mean for me? And they said, you have to redo everything. You have to redo all of your soul contracts because everything is complete now. And I'm like, okay. And I said, and what does that look like? And they said, you're starting from zero. And I'm like, oh my God. And I said, well, since I'm deciding to say stay, what now? And they said, well, what now is you need to wake up and you need to get antibiotics because you have a kidney infection. So I hear in my head, wake up. And I bolt out of bed, right? And I'm like, oh crap. I can't, my husband's not next to me. And so I'm looking around and I see him and he's sitting off and he doesn't look right. And I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, I don't know. He said, I don't know if it's a dream. He said, I don't know what it is. He said, but I woke up knowing that our lives and how we work, and he said, particularly how I work, right? He said, everything has to change. He says, Jen, or you're leaving. And I just looked at him like, well, I was like, ooh, let me tell you my dream. So it was this space of what the hell? Right? But I knew instantaneously. When we got home, I canceled all my retreats. I canceled all my sacred journeys. Nothing was right anymore. Nothing was right. And I said to my team, I said, what now? And they said, you need to sit. And they said, offer your group healings. I'm doing group healings twice a month. And then your sessions, but only a little bit. Sit. Well, I'm going to tell you that was really uncomfortable. Really, really uncomfortable because I'm a very driven person. I'm always like, okay, I'm going here. This is what I'm doing. And I started watching dynamics change in all of my relationships, not in bad ways, actually in some really good ways. It was like I saw where there were patterns that were not necessarily the most beneficial. Just leave. And it was like new arrangements were made. New conversations were being had. Um, it's really kind of hard to describe, but it's all of a sudden like teenagers are teenagers, right? And it's like that frustrated conversation you can have with a teenager, and then all of a sudden, here's this beautiful child saying, Mom, can you help me with energy work? Mom, can you help me with this?
Mm.
Mom, can you explain this? It was a complete dynamic shift. So whatever soul contract her and I made again, I was like, this one's good, like it. Um, and then in the quiet, the uncomfortable quiet of not knowing those next steps, I started receiving what I'm calling creation codes. And it started coming in through sessions and healings. And it's just, I could be working with something and I'd be like, I can see this pattern, but I don't know exactly how to unwind it. And I would hear a number and I would receive something and then I could put it in and watch it unwind. And it's this, it's a completely new space. It's completely new. And so I said to my team, I said, did everyone go through this? And they said, no, not consciously, but many, many did
Yeah. Yeah.
without really remembering it.
Yeah.
And that's part of what's been happening since the beginning of the year. And I think it's been preparing us for this. You know what I
Wow.
mean? It's like, it's figuring out that doesn't match me anymore.
Yeah.
That's not accurate. Whether, like you talked about the marketing, right? The way that people have told me to market, it doesn't match. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And I refuse. I refuse. I'm like doing it my way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I can't even tell you. Like all the hairs on my body are standing up. But that's exactly what we've gone through.
Yeah.
And I can remember because like a lot of these feminine, they'll pick up stuff months in advance. And start saying it, and Morgan would start saying everything's got to come down to zero. So, this is even before we met in Canada or came here to Mexico. And so it was it was right after the solstice, the winter solstice.
Mhm.
And then she'd been having this health issue that she hadn't pinpointed. Anyway, so it all culminated on January 20th. And she came back from Canada because she had to leave to go renew her visa. She comes back and literally has probably the same time with you,
Mhm.
uh, this moment of life or death. I
Yeah.
was there. I witnessed it. And it was 3 days. You talk about 3 days of darkness. She didn't get out of bed for 3 days. And it was every organ. It was more than life threatening.
Yeah.
Now I can't speak for her in terms of choices of staying or going, but being a witness there and looking at the energetics of it, even like in our situation, like with her work, she shut all her groups down last March or April, May. You
Yeah.
know, I walked away from Sology, or took
Mhm.
a hiatus or, not even knowing anything. That's why I don't name this Soul Speaks or Sology. I mean, you know what I mean? And so everything went away
Yeah.
and everything went down to zero. Everything. And this is so much more than just what you're doing as a vocation, so to speak, or it's a reset from the 0 point in every single connection. And she would say, and now we're walking out with baby steps. And I'm like you, I got to go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And it seems to be lifting since uh, April started, and not like, gangbusters, but just in flow. And there is something to be said for it. I was taken on the equinox of last month, and I was told, because I'm going, oh my God, how are we going to pay the rent at the end of the month? Those things start coming in, and
Sure.
and then all the old programs behind it, like whatever. And so I was told, just do what feels right. So I probably did like 8 shows, maybe 6 or 8 shows between the equinox and the end of the month, which, having been dormant for so long, the contribution cycle totally shut down. And 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 at the end of the month, or I'm sorry, on the second of the month or the third of April, a lightning bolt came in out of nowhere. And when I saw it, I was laying in bed and I heard a vibration on my phone. She was already up, and I'm laying in bed just trying to get some extra, sleepy time. And I hear, and I look at the phone and I see, oh my God, there's the rent. Boom. And they said, there you go. This is how you're going to operate. This is the way it works. This is just one example. It's to be in this space, and you're not giving credence or focus or attention to the programming of old. You're doing what you love, even though you don't have it clear cut, even though you don't have all the steps and strategies worked out, because that's not part of it anymore either. You're with who you love, you're doing what you love, and clearly the universal energy will come in and meet you. And then the other thing you were talking about, which I really feel like is important to restate, is, you know, her and I, like any couple through these transition we call ascension, have had to let go of each other many, many times in many different ways. And you realize that when you do that, because they tell you, hey, we've been laying in bed many times, and they'll say, are you guys willing to let go of each other to go to the next level? And we're like, okay, boom. But you never lose what you had. In
Yeah.
fact, whatever you had or you think you had is still with you at an exponential level. And but you can't go into it going, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and surrender to this because I know I'm still going to have it. No, it doesn't work that way. You literally have to let it all go. And what you were saying about these, like the example with your teenager, is to me, it's like an equilibrium. Like the way this works now, if it's not a 50-50 deal, then it's not going to work. And and not no judgment or anything. You can try it, and we all know if you keep pushing the universe against
Yeah.
the universe, it's going to push back a little louder and louder and louder, and now really loud. But I kind of see it too, like we were swimming for all these incarnations, and we were ascending, so to speak. We were elevating. We were moving forward against the current, and then all of a sudden, boom, it shifts. Now we're still swimming upriver, but now the current's with us.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's weird because we're not familiar, or at least it's way back in our, Akashics, our deep ancient memories, but we're not used to it. We're not used to everything flowing with us. We're finding that rhythm and finding that
Yeah.
grace. And I think it is characterized by these equal exchanges.
Yeah.
And they show themselves just like this exchange to me, because
Yeah.
it was spontaneous, it was intuitive, it was in the moment, it was at that level of above telepathy, and it just fit,
Yeah.
right? Like even the exchanges on the messages, it was just like boom,
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 boom, boom,
boom,
done.
boom. Yeah, and it was like, oh my God, okay, well, and then now for me, it's like you find that kind of event happens, and then you go, wow, that's cool, and then you go to sleep. But because before I'd be going, oh my God, you know what happened? This happened. Wow. Can you believe this? Well, this is the norm, right? This is the norm. And I feel like in some way, long-winded way, that we're getting used to it. We're getting used to our
We're
natural
starting to
nature.
trust it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been the hardest thing is trusting. Will we be provided for? And like for us, I mean, my husband was very clear with me. He was like, you need to slow down. You need to pull back. Like, and I did. I brought up the finances and he's like, I've got it. And I'm telling you, we were not home 2 or 3 days before somebody contacted him and said, I really need you to come run a crew. So he's working full time now. And it's such an interesting space because it was like the universe, just like, seeing your rent on the phone, the universe said, got you, rest,
Mm,
figure yourself out, allow yourself to be the conduit to bring in this new.
mm,
It's not easy.
mm,
You know what I mean? Because you have to, especially if you're a doer, right? And if you're, somebody who's kind of like driven, I'm a driven person. And so it's like all of a sudden stepping back and going, I'm okay and I can sit here and receive. And then
mm,
in the receiving, I'm seeing, I don't know, but I like what I see, right?
mm-hmm,
It's the codes coming in are just, they're amazing, but how they're shifting me and then the potential that I can see with things and it kind of makes it all worth it. I mean, I would say for the first month after being home after that experience in January, I was in grief. I was simultaneous grief because I agreed to stay and also like appreciation. Like I would go to a basketball game and I'd be like, I'm so glad I get to see her play again. It was literally both. Like, can I just go and be back in that space of it's all fine. It's all done, right? And I don't know. And but it
good
was fun.
luck with that.
But what Spirit would tell me all the time is that space is simply a mindset. And that they're like saying to me, can you see how in each moment it is perfect?
Mm, mm,
And it's like I can look at, softball tournament being canceled and the track meet being canceled this weekend, and I'm like, okay, that's perfect, right? Because I get to be home. How wonderful is that? But it's harder if it's a delayed flight,
mm-hmm,
right? It's harder when it's something that, or if it was something I really, not that I didn't want to do those things, but they weren't top on my list. But if it had been something that I really wanted to do, can I then also see that as divine orchestration?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So it's that
yeah.
shift
It's
and
like not getting stuck on the grid.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And here's another thing too, like witnessing Morgan. Okay. Because grief was huge. Like it
yeah,
was like January, February. And I know it wasn't just us,
Yeah.
because she has a couple of small groups now since I think like the first of the year, and oh, they were all talking about the same thing, like issues in their lower organs,
Hmm.
just all these similar things in the physiology of their body, and also what they were feeling and what was coming up,
Yeah.
right? The grief and just I'm leaving, the dying, and even I would say even in that post equinox period, even though I was, you know, I thought I was like on top of it, and the universe was telling me, hey, just go do a show every couple days. I mean, that's what it feels. That's what. Don't push anything. Don't force anything. And we're going to show you something here, you know and but even during that time I was having these periods of going, man, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, you know what, I mean, this is, I'm tired,
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
tired, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you too. Throat chakras activating. That I got the message, and she did too, um, through most of those first 3 months, and for me, toward the end of March, which was we're being prepared, like we're about to get shot out here,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be like it was in terms of the deep dive and then the coming up. Not that we're going to revisit, not going to revisit, shadows, programs, patterns, whatever, but there's more of an upside now. It's clearer, and we can move forward with that. Uh, and I think the other thing that kind of stands out for me at the end of the month, uh, as we were doing our sessions at night, she pulled in like persecution and pride. We pulled in persecution and pride, like on each end, the spectrum. And to me anyway, the midpoint was the only way to, and this is me, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not sure if her words would be the same, but the only way to find out is to step into it,
Yeah.
which means thoughts, words, actions, even if you even if you're not sure. Now,
Yeah.
if you're not sure, like you were talking about earlier, like you don't do anything. That's kind of been our motto. If you don't know for sure, don't do anything. But now it's kind of got to this point where take these steps.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, and because something will come immediately and show you. But it's a belief system, or uh, a navigation system where you're no longer worried about what people will think on this side, the persecution, the embarrassment. And on this side, it's no more tied to or prisoner to your own prideful ego. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to keep doing this because I got all these likes and I got all these views. No, no, no. You're here in the middle.
Yep.
You're operating what I'm calling for myself an abundance frequency. And that's the last
I
thing I'll
love
say. I
it.
remember it was probably early March, and she got, if you, what was it? If you want to experience abundance, then be abundance.
Hmm.
And I went, oh, okay. So, in other words, don't hoard that energy, just share it. And
Yeah.
like you said, you trust in the universal reciprocation.
Yeah.
And it's weird because in this physical heavy density, we haven't had that.
No.
There's always been a string tied to it. Oh
Right.
yeah, you can have this, but you're going to have to do this,
Yeah.
or you're going to have to, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's exciting. It's very much an unknown variable, but it feels like that's what it feels like to me. It feels like this situation with us. Like I saw it, I said it feels right. I don't know what my calendar looks like. I'm just going to send her a message, and then you write me one back and say I can do tomorrow or after May 1st. I look at my calendar, and literally the only day I have open is tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there it is. So you take the step, and it shows you right away. Uh, but it's still trying a bit. It's still, but not like it used to be. I'm gonna say like trying, like challenging, or it affects our human aspect to a degree.
Yeah.
But again, it feels to me like, look, you're here. Y'all have come this far. Do you want to take this on? You know what I mean? Like, yes, because what's going to happen? I'm either going to go out there and show my ass and fail with pure intention, or maybe something spectacular will happen. And I think the last part of it to me is, which is really interesting to me, and I've heard people talking about this for several years, is that this part of our experience is um, like I don't even want to say enhanced or amplified because it's way beyond that by co-creation,
Yeah.
collaboration. You know what I mean? Like it's about community. It's about physical embodiment of oneness beyond the individual.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's exciting to me. I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
it's I think we're on the threshold of it. And because I've seen so many like communities where people have tried to get people together on a land and it falls apart and it becomes this, mental illness ego fest. And I think I think what's happening is we're going to start trying again, right? Because the people coming in are going to be at a certain frequency. And maybe the way I can better state it is we're how like a cookie, you put it in the oven and it's not quite done, you touch it and it leaves an imprint, right? That is how we've
Mm,
been. And things brush up against us, they make a little mush spot, but now it's like we're cooked. We're at that stage where our fields, I know, isn't that terrible? Our fields are more solid. And
mm,
from that, they become magnetized and they start pulling in the people that can really match that field. And so it feels to me like community is becoming safer. My dogs, they're rotten, probably Amazon. Um, the field is becoming
yeah.
safer, right?
Mm.
And it's not that the field's becoming safer, but that community is becoming safer because we've got so many wounds from how many incarnations to where we have really wanted to connect on this deep, deep heart level, and we've been met with somebody else's wounds. But now, as we're all working on owning our own stuff, moving forward that way, it's going to shift everything and it's going to shift what are we creating? And it's going to be created from a much purer frequency and a much stronger foundation, is how I feel the next steps are going to be. And that could be 5 years from now, right? As we all start to work and move forward. Or it could be really, really fast.
Wow. Holy mackerel.
What?
That right when you ended, I it was totally the bandwidth over here was struggling, but I knew that the codes were coming through, and then right when you said about the foundation, it went 1 hour, 11 minutes, 11 seconds. Oh, why am I even looking at that? I mean, I just look up and it's 11111. I'm like, oh my God.
Like, of course it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's legit. I mean, and I guess, ultimately the only way, well, I really feel strong because I really feel like a lot of the things that we all do kind of reflects or represents what's happening collectively as the individual goes, as the couple goes, as the group goes, so goes the collective, and to me, it's uh, what I said before we got on, which I really feel stronger and stronger and stronger more every day by doing by stepping into it and into the experience, and that is that the most vital code that we have after all this time connecting to our etheric aspects and past life and all that stuff, right, is right now, between two awake, awake as in I'm not asleep, in bed, but like and having an open conversation where everything has been put I don't want to say to the side, but in other words, you show up with what you have, and that same kind of frequency of, you know, man, I've been through a lot, I've learned a lot, I've experienced a lot, but I woke up this morning, I don't know anything. but let's have a conversation and talk about the most, you know, yesterday, the day before, and you know, I mean, that's just this is no, like by force or by flow, it just feels this way. And the other place I see it too is that it doesn't involve all that stuff out there. Because I'm finding, and I've done research for years and years and years to stay on top of things, but all the narratives are falling for me. I don't
Mhm.
care if it's galactic wars. I don't care if it's
Yep.
the stuff going on in the government today in the U.S. and the war. I don't care. It
No.
just doesn't hold salt. It feels like it's not real. And
Yeah.
it certainly feels to me like it's a waste of my time and my energy to put it into it. You know, I
Yeah.
might look at something and receive the code or go on reels for 10 minutes and pick up stuff. That's interesting sometimes, you know. But at the end of the day, it's really making it obvious to me that my soul wants me to be here. So now you see these, you know, earthquakes and this and that, and that's where I take myself every day. Like this is what I wanted to tell you. It was that deconstruction to nothing, and then because I always try to simplify things, and it was like, okay, my soul comes in and says, okay, imagine no one in the world knows you and Morgan, nobody. You have the internet. You have everything that you've brought to the up to this point. What would you do now?
Mm.
And I was like, oh, well, I guess we would. I would probably do what we've done, like you know, go out and share this information, share our whatever it is that we have to offer, as if as if no one knew you. And I remember her saying, at you know, in describing what was going to come about the deconstruction, and then back to zero and starting over that, and again, I feel like this is very metaphoric to a degree, and it was you're for an entire new audience in so many words. You know what I mean? Like it's not based on anything. You're letting go of it all, including any proverbial foundation that you had. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if I look at my own personal thing and all the years of doing Sology, and the incredible love and support and contributions that people, you know, that followed that you know that exchange. Uh, you know, if you look at it from a human perspective only, the typical conventional one, it was a crazy, stupid decision, right? You know what I mean? Move to another country and you stop doing everything you're doing, and but that's where we've been asked to go to, and some people might experience it like I did, and then like you know, with the kidney thing and Morgan, which was a kidney, was the first part of it. You know, I mean, it was like it, and in fact, I think for a lot of women, at least from what I could see, like with her being on the peripheral of her groups and sometimes involved, because they're all women, uh, they were experiencing it in their bodies,
Yeah.
you know, and it was all like in almost like in a uniformity, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it started down here and it moved up, you know, kind of thing. And so I think that was very, very telling because we know that the feminine part of us is kind of like on the front edge of it. You know what I mean? They're like the weather vane. Like they
Yeah.
pull everything in first, and the body becoming such a loud voice now. To me, probably the loudest one for me.
Oh, I agree.
You know.
I've my husband and I are studying Tantra, and I found a Tantra teacher I adore. And Tantra can be really laden out there with so many different themes. And this particularness is why I chose this teacher. For her, it's all about getting into your own body and then really connecting with it. And then from there, connecting to the earth and the cosmos, even before you connect with a partner. It's all about you and your connection. And it's been very interesting working with her. And she's like, I'm my issues are always going to be my lower chakras. These have always been very open. So for me, it's get into the body, whereas a lot of people, it's how do you open these? And so it's almost this reverse type thing to where everything right now is screaming, get into your body, use the breath work, use the life force energy to propel yourself forward. And with your connection to the earth and your connection to the cosmos, because there really isn't anything else. So it's been really interesting journey. And I had decided to do that
I
right
agree.
into 24. Um, and
Yeah.
and so and that was one of the questions I had for my team. I'm like, okay, I'm getting rid of everything. Am I getting rid of that? And they're like, no, no, keep that. But I mean, it has been such a collapse.
Yeah. It really has. And it's mind blowing the multiple streams that are coming in that you're tapped into, which all have an individual voice, but they all kind of have the same voice. And I've been saying for, the last few weeks, to myself, I'm stuck somewhere between, not stuck is not the right word. I'm in between this, and I'm in the middle, kind of like, veering back and forth as we do between understanding, I guess you would say, like spirit, soul, body. The body, in other words, the body's the 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 evolution or the change or the consciousness or the intel of the body and judgment. Like, instead of going, I'm going to draw the line, I'm straight vegan or whatever it might be, right? I'm going to do this or not do this. But I realize there's something in the middle there that's based on my my potential non-judgmental, um, alignment with the value, the honor, and the reverence of the experience itself.
Mhm.
So I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I have my juice, and then I make myself a nice breakfast. I love eggs, and it's like it's not an addiction. It is it's an experience for me that makes me feel wonderful. You know what I mean?
And
Like, so
grounded.
yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like, and so, yeah, it's this integration, like all this whole thing is, it's an integration, and I really feel like that the whole self judgment thing is is like I don't want to say the final piece, but
Mhm.
yeah, because
I think so.
if I don't have any judgment, if I can hold myself in that high regard, which isn't a continuing thing, a continuing expansion. But whatever position I'm holding of myself, I'm immediately, without effort, doing the same with others. It's impossible not
Yes.
to. It's a
It's
mutual,
impossible not to.
simultaneous, equilibrium kind of functioning way of living, a new way of living. Thanks. I don't know where that came from,
Well,
but
you bring up, it's such a phenomenal point, though. The thing is, we're not all the same.
hmm,
And I think part of the mystery of this experience, if you will, is the fact that one of the things we each have to learn to do is listen to ourselves 100% above all, above
hmm,
any belief systems, above any even desires. Okay, I desire to be vegan. Well, what if my body's like, hello, I need this?
hmm,
It's listening. Can I listen to me above all?
yeah,
And in
yeah,
that, there's no greater self-love than that.
I know, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it's
and sometimes the body will say something like, why did you just do that? Why did you eat that? Right. And that too, you have to go, okay, I'm responsible for that. I understand the fallout,
yeah,
but it's not about anyone else.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah, I think that's you hit the nail on the head. And it's nothing personal.
Oh,
Look, am I going to, if my neck is going to get chopped off, it's going to be by my decision, by my discernment, by my choices.
yeah.
Uh, it's not going to be because I've grabbed onto this belief system over here, over there. And that's an interesting dynamic that really has started to show itself, in my opinion, in these circles we've run in for so many years.
Mhm.
Because, and again, it's not throwing shade at anyone or anything. it's just to me a sign of the times, and that is basically explained, at least in my mind, people are coming into their own self-sourcing,
Yes.
and it's altering the landscape of what has been our environment. Let's just say in light worker, starseed circles. You know what I mean? And then going back to what I heard about. Well, say nobody knew who you were. What would y'all do? I
Hmm.
do feel like what you were saying earlier. We did what we came here to do, and now the halftime's over, the intermission's over. We're going into this new thing, and it's like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Well, what are we good at? What are you good at? Yeah, these things are not just going to be thrown out like, you know what I mean? To me, they're not. I feel like that an element, if not a large element of, let's just say, the populace will will be able to gain from what we have to offer. It just may not look like what we did in the past. You might offer your things that you've offered. I might do the things that I've done, but there's some kind of energetic um, um, element that's coming in that's showing itself, kind of what we're talking about, that may alter the way it looks. It may just simply be the fact that we're holding our space in our field and being responsible,
Hmm.
and taking that invitation. And by virtue of that initiative, that's all people need to see. Like, oh my God, look what she's doing. Like what you just said in January and what my wife went through. Like you were talking about it like it was just a thing. That wasn't a thing.
Oh no, no, it
You
was
could
more than a
you could
thing.
have
I think
you
I
could have
cried
been
for a month.
yeah, you could have been gone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, she was right there with you, you know. I mean, it was a and I also know other particularly women that, that were in the same boat. It was like a massive grief cycle, death cycle, multiple death cycle.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I think, Todd, I think you hit on something that for me was the most difficult piece. And it's getting easier, but I can't
Mm,
say it's perfect. And that is the question of what do you want?
yeah.
I've always been someone that's like, okay, here's what I do. This is next. Tell me what I need to be done. And even with spirit, I was that way, right? Like, where do I go next? What do I create? What do I do? And now it's this space of what's going to light you up?
Yeah.
And I'm doing some things that I was doing before, but it is different. It
Yeah.
is so different. The energy, how I'm holding it's different, how I feel about it's different. And there's creations that are coming forward that I'm like, it's exciting.
Mm,
It's exciting, but I really had to get to this space of, can I ask for what I want?
mm,
And without it seeming too huge,
yeah.
and stepping into it because it was like first I was like, yeah, it's like the main thing I want is to teach. I love to teach.
Mm,
And so it's like that's what I want. But then you have to undo all the belief systems and crap that you've created that keeps you from that.
mm.
And so it's this that for me, I will say has been the most difficult part.
No, I can relate to that. I was told when I first got back into this after the first of the year on a few episodes, you look bored.
Mm.
And I would be like, oh my God, don't go into judgment. Just be present. I'm talking to myself the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would say at the beginning of this month, it started to get easier. I could see the fluidity of it. I could see the rhythm of it. I could see the sacred synchronicity of it.
Mhm.
Uh, I could see the light. And to your point, um, I think there were times I was like January, February. I was like, I ain't doing this shit anymore. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I can't do this.
Yeah.
But something changed after the 1st of April, and it was maybe even like 7 to 10 days ago, and I was like, I love doing this. I'm good at this. I really like it. I mean, I really like doing this. I love talking to people. I love to see them, you know, blossom. I love to hear the stories because I do believe that that's the greatest intel. And yeah, so I feel like it's important to share these things because even though your story and your, let's say your passion, what you do may not be like mine or somebody watching, it's still the same thing. It's still
Yeah.
energy moving through that zero point between persecution and pride or whatever they may be,
Yeah.
and expressing their inspiration, uh, their individuality, their love, their collective connection, everything going out there. And I don't even want to use words like fearless. It's just like, hey, you know what? We've come this far. Well, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens. Like, how are we going to know
Or
if
no.
we don't give it a shot? And that also applies to prophecies, predictions to me, foreshadowing. It's like, what's the point? Because
Yeah.
it's only showing me now that it's taken away from me. It's
It
no different than
limits.
being worried about a person, what they're going to think about you. It's like, you know what? So if the world's going to end tomorrow, it shouldn't change what I'm doing today. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So,
But, it was so, I mean, yeah, it was, it's so interesting, as you're saying that, because it was like, I came home from Honduras. I had Turkey and South Africa planned for 2025, and then Egypt for 2026. And
wow.
anyway, I had four planned, canceled them all. Um, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'm done. That was my thought. I'm done. I'm
Mm,
not doing this anymore.
mm,
And then right around the equinox, Mary Magdalene started coming in very, a lot.
mm,
And then interesting enough, she started like little things started connecting with my original group I went to France with in 23. And we're now doing France in the fall, but
wow.
it's different.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's like, even though I know we're going to see some of the same things, it is so different. And maybe what she had shared shed some light on some of this because she had said to me the times I've gone to France before, she had said, you've always gone for the after. You've gone
Mm,
and picked up like the Cathars and what were they doing? What happened after, the crucifixion and all of these things? It's
mm,
always been the after. And this time she's saying, go to the summer codes. And I'm like, what is that? And she's like, there's a summer to everything. Ooh, I just got goosebumps. She's like, there's a summer to relationships. There's a summer, per year, but even in your lifetime, there's a summer.
mm,
And so what she was showing is that there was that time that there was that beautiful divine union before he became, government enemy. And everything that they were creating was from this space of joy and from
mm,
this space of like true divine union, true divine love. And
mm,
so she said, that's what you're after now.
mm.
And it it's an interesting piece when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And you're like, huh,
Yeah.
we've always focused on the after. We've always focused on the collapse and when things went down and got really bad. I mean, the dark ages were not long after that. I mean, a little bit
Mm,
long, you know what I mean?
mm,
But it's like, go before.
mm.
Go when they were working with all that energy and all that hope and the love and the divine union and what they were creating through their divine union.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because, at first I was thinking, I was like, my husband's not gonna be able to go. And he's like, nope, I'm going. And I'm like, okay, right? It's like tandem
Yeah.
and going to really explore that and pick it up and stop playing in the bad stuff happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were used to it. We did shadow work for, and again, their patterns and behaviors of shadows are still showing themselves or whatever, but something's changed. It's like,
Yeah,
to
it's
me, it's like the emphasis is now on the other side, the forward motion,
changed.
and I like your example of the summer because it's like before you went in and to almost like to realign or reform or restore these things that got effed up, but now you can see the summer. So
Yeah.
now you can go back to that. It's kind of like sometimes I'll go back to certain periods of my life to ground in those feelings and those emotions, the magnetism that
Yeah.
brings for me, like it brings something to me. I see it very similar, and I think that is a really good description of what we're all stepping into now.
Hmm.
We're all stepping into this thing, and it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing because it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain because it's so fresh, it's so new, it's so fast moving. But I am seeing it now, April 18th. I'm seeing it because I have quite a few conversations this year where most really January, February, most of March was like something's going on, but we can't explain it. We would try to talk about it, but yeah, they seem to be getting more fluid and a little bit more, yeah, a little bit more understandable. So anyway, okay. So let us know now that all this has changed with you, just so people can follow up with you. And if you would, could you put any information in the comments of the Facebook on my page, and I will transfer them to X and to YouTube for you. But yeah, just whatever you mentioned, France, like anything that you would like to share that you're doing or where people can find you, because I'm sure that there's going to be some interest there if you
Yeah.
wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Not a problem. And I have to write myself a note because otherwise I'll forget in 2 seconds. Like it's
Okay,
bad.
okay, no problem. Well, listen,
Have you noticed that?
Abs- hello, hello. If I don't, I walk next door. There's two convenience stores next door, and I'll go. We can't get lots of stuff, but we can get some things. If I don't write it down in my phone, I have a running list on my phone, and I'll get one of those to-do lists, and
Yeah.
you click it, and then once you click it, it erases. If I don't, if it's 4 or 5 items, if I don't write it down, I'll
Yeah.
leave something every time. I
Hmm.
swear, you know.
Yep, me
But
too.
I'm through like judging myself about it. I just now try to learn how to manage it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and I really feel like we had a great conversation, and due to your openness and your willingness and the timing.
Perfect.
I feel it's been a sacred exchange, and I feel confident that people that tune into it are going to gain something from it, even between the lines, between the words or underneath the words, but the intention, the energy, the openness. I really feel like it speaks to what we're all kind of finding ourselves in now, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I thank you. I thank you. I really do. It's a beautiful space you've created,
Mm,
and it feels nourishing in
mm,
many ways, because it can feel really lone out here, you know,
yeah.
and to have these conversations to where we're going, yeah, this is, I mean, like what happened to Morgan, it helps make sense with what happened to
Mm,
me.
yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it's like the lady told me yesterday on a couple of items. I'm like, yeah, that happened. She's like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not a coincidence what you went through in January, what
Yeah.
she went through in January. And I know it's not all exactly the same, but I was privy to too many women in her circle and otherwise that were going through the same thing. Like she'd put up a post and it'd be like, 75 women saying, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, same thing, same." And like,
Yeah.
so that was a real, that was real impressive to me in terms of the embodiment and it really coming into the body. And obviously, it made sense to me that it would go into the feminine first because it happens that way. I mean, that seems to be the math, and that doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be changing. But yeah, so I just want to say thanks again, and blessings of grace to you and your beautiful family and to your future endeavors. And I look forward to getting together with you again.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you take care, and we'll
Give
see
Morgan
y'all
lots of
later.
love.
I will do that. I told her what happened last night. She goes, "Oh, I want to watch that." She had a group at the same time, but yeah, I'm sure she'll be interested in watching it. You take care.
All
We'll
right,
see
love.
y'all later. I'll be back in about 6.5 hours.